Hello, everyone. I'm Mick Kennedy, and I'm going to be moderating tonight's reading by TrishLindseyJaggers, who is going to be the judge of our chapbook prize this year. She's a phenomenal talent out of WKU, and we are so pleased to have her here. We thank all of you for coming out. This video will be posted later on Facebook, so that if you can't, or if you want to rewatch it, if you want to rewatch it, you can refer back to her work. She has 2 books out: Decomposition, Rigor Mortis, which is her newest one, and then what's the other one, Trish?
Homonym. Homonym.
Yes, Homonym, out of Finishing Line Press. So, ladies and gentlemen, TrishLindseyJaggers. Thanks, Trish.
Hey there. Thank you. It's a great introduction. I'm hearing an echo, and I'm not sure if that's going to show up on the recording. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and read from Decomposition, Rigor Mortis, which is a chapbook of about the size I hope to receive and read from those of you who choose to enter the contest, and I hope you do. It's a great contest. The quality of work that comes from the Heartland Review Press is outstanding. Okay, let's see. This chapbook was an answer to a challenge a couple of years ago. The one that was presented by Local Gems Poetry Press out of New York. And I answered the challenge to write a poem a day. In some cases, I wrote more than one poem, and they didn't all make it in here, but many of them did, and I was very pleased to be one of the finalists and be offered publication for Decomposition. And as you can tell by the title, it's not as macabre as it seems. It's deconstructing through words. Okay. Some of these are very light, and then some of them are a little less than light. I'll begin with the first poem in the book, and though we are past snow, it's just a really simple poem that came about after watching snow. Overnight, something settled. All visual differences softly hushed. The rusted car, the new car, the dull tin roof, the tightly shingled roof, the dirt yard, the manicured lawn, every stick, vine, briar, shrub, and tree draped in dazzle. Snow, the great equalizer of stationary things. And I typically write about writing a lot, and that month was not the exception. And so this one's titled A Poem, Tales of Revision. Today, like the ground, I do not wish to be prone for the plow's brutal rusted point. The point to the page is one cut, the other is cut. What pearls from the inside is why, all splayed fruit on the cutting board, shaking hand, knife, nothing. That nothing is what keeps the point always ready for the stone. Press, leave a mark. Sweet peach, aren't you ripe yet? Agnostic. I've been fishing for God, and the line to my rod gets pulled now and then, but a branch tugs free and passes. I wait for another nudge, a siren song, anything mystifying to pull me forward, make me lose my impiety. The real thing can take some time, I'm told, or it will sometimes strike without warning. Some pack up and leave, bait writhing on the ground, sacrifices in waiting. Not now, I say. I'm not ready to reel it in, call it a day. I want the floater pulled under, the line stretched thin as a note, rod bent toward the opera mouth calling me, invisible as a haint beneath the mirrored sky wrinkling around my needle of line. Suddenly a force pulls it taut, and nothing left to give. I'm snapped back to the bank as it sings free of me and disappears without ever showing itself. My bait, my floater, my line, now gone. I pack up my loss, searching for the tune I think it hummed. And this is from the title poem. Rigor mortis 1, the border agents are growing cold-hearted. And it was said by a child during March. It was some words I heard on the news. The border agents are growing cold-hearted. Where does the cold growth begin? In the fingertips? Algor mortis, one red cell at a time, numbs its way up until the hands can no longer feel what they used to hold close. Do the feet go next? The lands walked and the bodies walked with. Each leg now separate, an unwilling member of its body. And do the senses chill as they try to turn off the memory of those catalyst ghost limbs, now silent as a church organ on Monday? The arms, they must forget too, forget how to swing and arc beside the heart, which always follows the arteries that feed it, now no longer in need of it. Then the mind, shut off from its heat, blows out the light and hums its cold self to sleep. Here are a couple that are funny. I was actually trying to quit smoking for a number of years before I succeeded in graduating to vaping. But 40 some odd years of smoking are not easy years to let go of. All right. So there are several poems along my journey from that. But this one's called Advice. You ought to quit, he says to me, eyes serious as pallbearers. I never thought of that, I say, my hand wrapped around a new pack of American Spirit's organic addiction. My dad used to roll his own, slide the length of tissue-wrapped tobacco over his tongue, twist the ends, then bite off the tip. He lit it, pulled the fire toward his mouth, quick-sucked air smoke, like a death gasp, down deep, down the deep red of his throat. I watched him hold his breath, then let it out slow and easy, smoke rising like dust caught in a sunstripe. $1 million tax dollars the Surgeon General spends to slap rectangular labels on my rectangular packs, the broken edges of my rectangular cartons, and flat magazine ads like Band-Aids in a first aid kit. Little cardboard signs hang from fishing lines above and below, chain-linked banners announcing the king size of this and that are on sale today. As he takes my blood My palm sweats next to cellophane. 8 years old when I struck a match while sitting powwow style in the woods behind my house, and I inhaled for the first time. I wish the sweet gags and acid fire that stripped the pink from my throat and lungs had told me then, you ought to quit now, and let me know just how much company I would not keep, or words littered with ashes I would not write. Tell me it would matter that so many years later, an ER intern thinks he rules this damn world with his white-coated charm, how gullible he is to believe he really thought of that first. And here's another one. On petting the cat in the rain after reading Frost. We both want to live, don't we? You with your orange striped luck, not knowing about your 8 other lucks. Me with my cigarettes, their burnt orange bands warm and wet between my fingers, deep drags and long exhalations, those beloved breaths. Both of us want the promise that tangerine sunsets will be followed by grapefruit sunrises. Still, rain beats the ground around us, and we struggle to breathe those beloved breaths. A smooth fog drawn together at the foot of a hillside just beyond the reaches of the river. Water we can't taste when we drown. Still the rain falls, rises, and those beloved breaths bubble to the river's ribs, stretch to sleeping houses. A few chimneys puff smoke, the color of the second stripe in your fur, warm and still wet between my fingers. Here are a couple of funny ones, because poetry needs to go there. On the day of my funeral. On the day of my funeral, I hope to be late. Caught off guard, sitting on the toilet with a good long book, half finished with both jobs, left alone at last to sit and finish something until someone comes to get me, reminds me I'm dead, supposed to be, and late, as usual. And I rise, take my toilet paper bookmarked book, and go as I am, without washing my hands or getting dressed. Arrive at my graveside, see all the faces dissolving like ancient cemetery markers. The tear-cracked potteries of foundation, the blue, brown, green, gray, black eyeliner, and mascara-streaked blush, the red, pink, peach, purple lip prints puckered on cheeks, foreheads, and twisted tissues, and laugh at all this nonsense, this putting on of airs and pantyhose, hoping each is spared a run, all the crooked knots and ties, kids leaning over the mysterious rectangular hole like trees into a rain-washed gully, hair slick as leaves in spring and about as sparse, to lay hands on everyone, cold hands, memorable as that late killer frost last May. Here's another lighthearted one. I like to write about things that we think about and don't often talk about. This one's called Deferral. In my busyness, I hold my bladder like my body is out to get me, a punishment for being human, loving water. When I finally give up and go, I pee with the fierceness of a June thunderstorm opening up on the house's long, hot roof, coming together at the mouth of a downspout. Rain so furious it foams. It takes hours to stop, it seems. And then My kidneys see their opening and push on, refill their bladder before I can stand. My body doesn't trust me to listen to it, and so it keeps me hostage on the toilet. I feel a tear let loose of my lash, my body's pent up relief, my mind's indifference to this pitiful division between the beautiful machinery that is me, working thanklessly for its master, my mind that ought to know we're both on the same side here. And I had one more. Well, it's on this side, but it's not that far over. Okay. Maybe it's not that one. Thought it was on the other side. Again, there seems to be a little macabre theme here about, rigor mortis when that sets in. There are 4 stages of mortis, and I do promise to write a small chapbook on each of those stages. Of course, rigor mortis is the 3rd, I believe. There's pallor, rigor, altor, and liver. Yes. And that's the one I'm actually working on now. So, coming to the end of my life, I recall what I've missed. The ache doesn't begin all at once. A pulse starts, beats off tempo for a while. Then it skips past and knocks on a door I can't seem to open from the outside. The breath quickening until there's no air, no space between the beats. One steady stream leading out on the sidewalk. The door opens in, and with one eye, I can see through to the me standing there, hand still on the knob. A place I just left and took with me. Recognition like an old phone number I can still say, but no longer dial. So again, it's a small chapbook. I could read a couple more, but that's just to whet your appetite to work on your own chapbook, and perhaps join me for a writing workshop later in the week where you can work on some negation poems, some apostrophe poems, and get rid of those abstractions by writing them out.
Wonderful stuff, Trish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, what started your walk, if you will, into being a poet? Where did you first get the inkling that that was something that you wanted to do?
Well, it's kind of interesting how it's like a chain link fence that you can the links are invisible until you focus on them, otherwise you can see straight through it. But I think when I grew up in a house of illiteracy. My mother could neither read nor write, and my father could not read very well and could write very little, and it was not their fault. My mother's mother died when she was 8 years old, and as the only girl left at home, she, as an 8-year-old, had to take care of her siblings. She was one of 13. But my mother feared those things that were written that she could not read. So it's a long, long story, and I've written about that a lot too. But the only house that had books in it was not my house that I was exposed to as a child, and it was my aunt's house, her sister. And one of the books I fell in love with for its little short poems that I didn't know what to do with. as a child, Emily Dickinson. And I got my behind paddled because I left the book like this on the chair arm. And we don't do this to books. You don't break the backs of books. And she paddled me for it. And it should have turned me against them, but it didn't. It just made me more careful with books. And it was years before I could actually write them one. Even in college, I felt funny taking annotations in a book because you don't do that to a book. I've since learned better, those are the scars we leave in a book show that we love it. And when I was in middle school, I've had a journal. My aunt bought me a journal, the same one, when I was pretty young, maybe second grade, third grade, and I wrote, horrible crap in it. And then I started breaking lines and still was not exposed to poetry other than when I was at her house. But I would hear poetry in class, or I would see it. I would see limericks. They would be in our textbooks. And to me, it was kind of code. I could write about something and get just to the edge of it, just touch it without revealing it, without getting it all over me, so to speak. And so it's been, when did I start writing it seriously? Seriously, it was in college, because I discovered in college what I could do with them. But I'd been writing it a long time. And I, for one, don't think I will ever perfect my craft. And that's what keeps me digging at it so hard. And that's what I love about it, that we always want one just a little better. These are different than my typical style. I hear my voice in there, but I hear a different voice as well, because once I saw that was the tone that I was going to have, it took on a dark tone, but a light tone along with it. Again, it's not something that I typically have in all my poems, but a lot of my own exercises appear in here, and I will talk about that in the workshop.
Thank you. Thank you. Did anybody else have any questions for Trish?
No, but those were great poems. I really love your reading.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, so it's Little Jim's out of New York, right?
Yeah, let's see. It's Local Gems Poetry Press.
Local
yeah, out of Long
Gems.
Island. Mm-hmm.
So I guess they would have like a bookstore on their website where you could purchase this book.
You can get it on Amazon as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And the art is, I only have black ink with which to paint my life. My granddaughter was born with art supplies in her hands, and that's what she does. And she also writes poetry too. So.
Yeah.
I said, this isn't fair. I can't illustrate a stick figure on the board. Pardon?
So she made the cover?
She did.
Oh, that's really nice. I really like the cover.
Yeah, she did it in a way to make it look. I told her, don't get elaborate. I want immature, kind of an immature dark theme, because I want the fun of it to come in. And this is my favorite part of it. But the hilarious part is the moon. She accidentally got her thumbprint in the paint. And I said, leave it alone. It's a dark moon. We need that. So
that's great.
Yeah, she went in and edited and did the cover. She's great. And she just turned 14 not long ago. So she did this when she was 10, 12. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Trish.
for
Um,
having me.
really appreciate your time, and thanks to everyone who was able to come out tonight. And we will see you back with us at 6:30 Eastern time on Wednesday for your workshop, and I'm really excited about that.
Bring
Um,
something with which to write. You're going to write poems, I promise you.
yes, I'm very excited
And be
about that.
prepared to share.
Yes. I've seen you read a few times now, and uh, I can tell that you are a really wonderful instructor because of the passion that you bring to the craft and the way that you explain the different devices and aspects of poetry. I think is really telling about just how much you've absorbed and how much you give to your students. So I'm really excited about the workshop. Been wanting to work with. I think I told you that at one reading. I wish I was in your class after all your readings. I remember saying that to you. So we'll definitely get the word out, and we will see you on Wednesday.
I'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much again. Bravo. Brava.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Thanks, Trish. I
Good
love the
night.
reading.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hmm.